me that it's live, and then once people start watching, then it usually shows a viewer count as well. Right now it's not showing that, so I have no idea. However, we'll just go ahead here. Welcome to the awesome show, Jen's awesome show. I'm here with Avi, and Avi is one of the builders in the Uplift World who has been getting quite a bit of attention lately. And we're going to take a look and find out what that's all about and ask a whole bunch of questions, because that's what we do best. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And what is the Uplift to you?
The Uplift to me is a new chapter in my life. During the height of the pandemic, I was playing Minecraft for about 14 hours a day, and it was kind of a way of escapism for me, because this pandemic was just something that nobody really saw coming, in the end all be all. And so to go from working about 12 to 14 hours a day, doing Lyft, to not doing anything for almost a year, I needed a way to express myself. And so finding this within the past couple of months or so has been really interesting. The Uplift is just, like I mentioned, a new chapter for me. So
excellent. Well, that's fun. And who are you to the Uplift then?
I think that at this point I would consider myself, I don't know how else to describe it other than a sort of personality. Because as I've created these first 4 builds for this community, I've garnered this just random attention that I wasn't expecting. Before this, I was mostly a 2D artist, in the sense that I like to paint and create digital art and things like that. And to come from that to suddenly all these people are, well, really? That was my cat knocking down his food.
Of course.
Come from that to the Uplift, where suddenly all these people, and then people all over Twitter, are just clamoring over this box architecture. It's just crazy to me.
It pretty much is, and it's fascinating. So how did you hear about the Uplift? How did you get involved?
So I showed some of my box architecture to, I believe it was Max. His name is MXJN on Twitter or something like that. Let me see while I'm talking. Max Jackson, MXJXN. I was sending him and some other people pictures of my my portfolio, and I guess they thought that it was cool. And somebody was talking to Jason from the Hustle House, in a Clubhouse chat, and I got a DM randomly, and it was basically like, "Hey, I saw your work, and I want to pay you for this first build, and if we can, get something squared away for maybe the next 6 months or something like that, we'll go ahead and do that." And I immediately was like, I've been pretty much out of a job for the past year trying to find my space in the art realm, and I took it immediately without a second thought, and here we are.
That's fantastic. So how did it feel as, an adult, to have somebody say, "I will pay you to build in Minecraft"?
At first, it was really surreal, and I doubted myself a lot, because my previous builds, were pretty good in my opinion, but they weren't to my full potential. And I think a lot of that has to deal with the way that I was treated in my past, because I was never really encouraged to do art. It was just known that I was good at it. So to go from thinking that my art's worth nothing or possibly worth little to, hey, you're getting paid just a sustainable living to make stuff for people that they'll enjoy. Again, is a just crazy.
That's fantastic. It's good that that happened. So next question then, getting into the creativity a little bit more. If you could make a really big mess, really, really big, with no budget, no repercussions, no cleanup, and no responsibility, what would you do?
I think as it pertains to this, it would be just a massive build that has a lot of commands enabled into it.
Mhm.
And the reason that is during the middle of the pandemic, and in tandem with Minecraft, I actually started learning how to code. Not anything that's really like game changing, but I learned how to use things like particle effects and things like that. And so I have some pictures on my phone, not on my computer, unfortunately, of me using particle effects to kind of add a new aura into the game, where it's like if you know things like the EXP points that kind of follow you on the ground,
Mhm.
or the particles that come from the enchantment table.
Yep.
I figured out that you can use those in different settings, like in a glass block, for instance, and it it doesn't really do anything, but it just adds kind of like a cool little effect.
That's really nifty.
Yeah,
That would be fun to see.
it really
So,
would.
um, when did you start playing Minecraft? When did you learn?
So I started playing roughly 7 years ago. I don't know exactly when, like what day, of course, because it just kind of happened. My little brother and sister, they are 8 and 10 years old now, and this obviously was a while back, but they basically started their lives off with iPads, which to me is just I'd never seen kids so young know how to play games better than I could. And so when they started playing this, Minecraft, it was just like, that looks really cool. I kind of like that a lot. And they were like, well, you should get it for your iPad. And I was like, you know what? Why not? It'll be sort of a bonding experience for me and my brother and sister. And who knows, maybe I'll end up liking it or something. And right away, the my builds compared to their builds, and granted they were younger, so of
Mhm.
course their stuff's not going to be as complex. But right away they started noticing like that my builds were uh like I could do a lot with a little bit of space, and that's kind of where it started. Um, just just seeing it from them, and then picking it up myself over the years, on and off.
That's pretty cool. Um, how did you get introduced to cryptocurrencies and NFTs?
So crypto, I was introduced to in 2017, whenever Bitcoin and Ethereum hit their first all-time highs and whatnot, during that bull run rather. Um, and I saw my dad trading these cryptocurrencies that he didn't really know a lot about, but made some money. Um, and I think at the start he put like $5,000 in it and left with like 15,000, which like he cashed out to help us with at home because I I grew up very poor. I grew up in a poor neighborhood, and I lived in one up until I was 14, and that's just kind of like how I grew up. And so seeing this cryptocurrency go from, you know, 5,000 to 15,000 within a short amount of time was just like, what the heck is that? Like, I need to know more about that. And so in that aspect, it didn't start with me learning a lot about it, but it ended with it to where I am now. And in regards to NFTs, that I learned about literally like, I'm sure you know that a couple of months ago, Texas had like its worst winter storm.
Yep.
That was when I started hearing about NFTs.
Oh.
And I decided, you know what, I've been making this art. I think people will like it, and I am freezing my butt off. So if there's anything I can do to kind of get me through this, why not try it? You know.
Yep.
And my first NFT that sold was called Ethereum Dreams, an Odyssey into History. It's kind of a long name, but I don't know. I like long names for artworks, and it sold in like 4 days, and that's kind of where I was like, you know what? Maybe I need to keep doing this. Maybe I need to keep staying in this space because there's a lot of potential for this, and that's still clear today.
That's pretty fantastic. So when you started with the NFTs, did you start with completely digital art, or did you digitize some of your real world art?
I digitized a few of my real world art. Um, there's one that unfortunately is lost to Coinbase because of partly my doing and partly the person that won the giveaway's doing, but it's no big deal because it was just kind of a mistake. But this painting that I made, I believe it's called Supernova. It has some like eyes and stuff on it, and it's on my wall currently. But there are a couple that I've digitized, but the others like Ethereum Dreams and the first of my Observer series are both digital.
That's pretty nifty. So, time for a fun question here. Pick
Okay.
a noun.
Now, you know, I am not good with
The grammar.
yeah.
How about a person, place, or thing?
Okay, that makes more sense. Let's say Steve
Okay.
for a person. A place is a park, and then
Okay.
thing is a tree. How about that?
Okay. And a verb, so some sort of an action word.
Walking.
Okay. And one of the who, what, when, where, why, or how.
I would say why.
Why? Okay. If you were to build a park full of trees, and let's say that Steve is going for a walk through the park, so probably a new player, why would that Steve be walking through your park? What is there to see?
Details.
Okay.
For me, a lot of my so actually you can see my screen, right?
I can. Do you want me to share that?
Yes, because
Okay, let's do
my
that.
most recent build actually has a little naturescape in it,
Oh,
and
neat.
I will show you why a park rather than tell you why.
Okay.
Going up.
This is way, way up. That should be a good view. Oh, neat.
Yeah. So this I made for this most recent build, and it's just a nice little naturescape. You can see obviously the leaves, and then the fence is a little bit different from your standard logs, you know.
Yep.
And then looking closer, there's a chest here for maybe a scavenger hunt or something like that. So if somebody goes
Yep.
up there, they can see it. And then here's a little micro waterfall
Yeah.
and a tiny little lake. And then if you look here, there's a little cave with some fire in it. And
That's really neat.
yeah, and so the natural landscape of Minecraft is beautiful in and of itself, but to be able to use different block combinations, like as you can see up towards the front, there's stairs, and then up
Mm-hmm.
on the top, there's slabs and things like that. To be able to create something like this with what you're given, um, for some may be a little difficult because starting out, they might not know these block placements.
Yep.
But for me, with the experience that I have, it just comes natural.
That's really neat. And I've noticed with one of your other builds too, you tend to put a lot of small landscapes inside. And
I
that's
do.
something I don't see a lot of other people doing. The concept of an in-house garden.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm really in tune with nature itself. So behind my house, we actually have a forest. I don't know how many acres it is exactly, and I'm also going over to the Hustle House where that tree is. Oh, just crashed. Um, but so this one here, this centerpiece with the tree,
Yeah.
is actually I haven't told anybody this, but it's actually an homage to this massive tree that's in the forest near me. It is the biggest one with the most, uh, not most, but it has also the biggest trunk out of all the trees in the forest behind my house. And I share a kind of personal bond with it. And so to bring that essence into the game is just I think I think that has a lot to do with like what makes me me.
Absolutely. That's really nifty. So, do you live in more of an urban area or a rural area?
I live actually in the DFW Metroplex. I
Okay.
live right outside of the main part, I would say, a little bit north of Fort Worth and also a little bit north of Dallas. Um, so it's kind of like I'm not exactly on one side or the other. I'm like right in the middle, and then directly below us is, or south of us is the airport, DFW International,
Okay.
and it's it's honestly pretty different from where I grew up, but I'm getting adjusted to it nonetheless.
Interesting. Okay. So, what else have you built? What else do you want to show us?
Right now,
Yeah, because I
so
mean, you built this building, right?
right, so I'll show
Okay.
you some of the rooms in here. Um, because there's also another naturescape in this room. It's pretty small, but again, it kind of captures that essence of me. If it would let me go down.
I had some issues with that last night too.
Yeah, I don't know what the heck's going on. Computer's
Yeah.
been very difficult today. But and if you notice the frame rate is pretty low. I don't have the number one computer in the world, but it gets the job done. And for pictures like this, it really does get the job done for me. Um,
Definitely.
so here's the interior of one of the luxury rooms. It's got, as you can see, a bunch of different little naturescapes with some bamboo, a bunch of flowers and whatnot. And then over on this side, there's an aquarium with no fish in it because we can't have mobs. Um, I did not notice that the ceiling is leaking, but hey, you know what? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it happens. So what is the purpose of this building? What is its function?
This building was the first one that Jason commissioned from me. I think it started out being more of like it was supposed to serve the purpose of like being the biggest house with like the most bells and whistles on it. Um, and to be completely honest, it started out um, where I just had this massive floor plan and I just kind of went with the flow. And you wouldn't be able to tell if you weren't me, but a section like this, um, it's not right to me. As you can see in the top ceiling, there's two sea lanterns instead of one in the center.
Yep,
But then you go over here and it's different at the
it's
top.
different. Yeah. So how, as an artist then, how do you handle things like that? Like when you know that when you're done something, there are going to be a bunch of tiny imperfections. How do you handle that?
I think for myself, um, I just have to take it in the perspective of I'm always learning. I'm never going to be perfect, and I that's not even what I'm trying to attain. Um, for myself, it's all a learning experience.
Yep.
So I have to take that in constantly and just know that yes, along the way I can fix some things, but if I'm already 80-90% of the way through it, I don't have time to go back and fix these minor little things. And it kind of adds character to my builds as well because it shows that I really am human.
Absolutely. That's a good perspective. Um, what advice would you have to somebody who's just kind of starting out and getting into the larger scale, fancier builds, but is a little bit, I don't want to say cautious, but almost having some imposter syndrome about whether or not they could actually get it done or do it?
My best advice is to just get started because you can start a build and not know the finished product right away. I didn't. Like, for instance, with this build here, the casino or the arcade, um, this build, I just started off with the most random floor plan that you could imagine. And I just had this idea of, I want this just multi-tiered, weird looking structure. But in the end, I also want it to look absolutely incredible. And so to just kind of go with the flow is what I make myself do because if I think too hard about a lot of this stuff, unless it's like somebody wants something exactly to a T, of course, which
Hmm.
hasn't been the case yet, then I just kind of do what feels natural.
Okay. And do you generally like to start with a floor plan or with a concept, or how does that all work for you? Do you start with a full idea or just a part of it?
So let's take this build in for example again. So we'll actually go up and if you see it it kind of comes up to a semicircle and then goes into a smaller
Hmm.
semicircle
Hmm.
at the base. And so that's what I started with because looking at pictures of casinos and other builds like that in real life, I wanted to kind of capture that um, what is the word? Like basically just it's there, you
Hmm.
see it and it's just huge and it's really cool. You don't know exactly what's going on, but it's not going anywhere, you know. And
Yep.
so I started with that, and then here I'll show you on the inside, and here's kind of where that imperfection comes into play. The ceiling is raised one block above the rest of the ceiling.
Hmm.
And so, in my perspective, what that serves as, or what the purpose of that is to serve as kind of a support, even though, you know, I could take a block away and it's not going to fall apart like a real building would. But it serves as that kind of support. And then if we go up a little bit, we'll go all the way up so I can show you the rooms at the top. But it just flows.
Yeah.
Like this room. I didn't know that it was going to look like this. I thought that this was probably going to have some kind of game in it, or craps or pool or something like that that's like casino related. But in the end, I was like, you know what? I think it would be really cool, like in a lot of casinos, how they have, you know, a hotel in the back or
Mm-hmm.
up top or whatever, to just have that little accent in it, so that it's not all the same whenever you're on the inside. It's like there's always something that you can find that's different.
I like that. That is neat. Okay. So then, your next build, you announced, I believe it was yesterday, that you're going to donate 30% of the profit to the Audubon Society. Can you tell me a bit more about that decision?
Yes, I absolutely can. It's been something that I wanted to do for a minute now, but I had a little bit of a hiatus on creating NFTs just because I was kind of going back to the drawing board and figuring out what it is that will be sustainable for me, and also solidify myself in this community as like everybody knows this guy. Maybe not
Mm-hmm.
everybody has his artwork, but everybody knows this guy because I just bring something unique to the table. Um, and if you could remind me of the question one more time. Oh,
Um,
the about donating, right? I'm sorry.
yeah, just about how you decided to donate, and what meaning the Audubon Society has for you.
So in that aspect, I my given name isn't actually Avi. My chosen name is. And Avi actually stems from the Latin word for bird, avian.
Mm-hmm.
And I, all my life, I've really loved birds. My favorite bird is the chickadee, and I resonate with them all. And again, playing back into the pandemic, at the height of it, I was bored and I didn't know what to do with myself, so I just started doing stuff. Um, and I noticed that there are a lot of different birds in my backyard. Again, with having that forest, and so I just started documenting all of them. And the more I documented them, it just became more apparent that, you know, these birds are just as much a part of my community as I am. And it just that just resonated with me. And so now that I'm finding something that's providing me with a living, and knowing that a lot of birds out there kind of rely on humans, in the sense that sometimes, during the winters they might need seeds or uh, fat, you know, and things like that to make it through. Like I was reading that somebody did a study in their own backyard, and during one winter they fed their birds, their wild birds, of course, suet, which is like the fat. I forgot the word earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And they fed their birds suet during the winter, and 73% of their birds survived that year, as compared to like 30 to 40 the previous year when they didn't feed them suet.
Wow, that's a big
And
difference.
yes, it really is. And so to discover things, or not discover, but to learn about things like that and kind of take it to heart, it just makes me want to give back in a way that I can.
That's absolutely fantastic. So, are you willing to talk about what your next build will be, or is it a surprise?
You know what? I was going to keep it a surprise, but why not? Why not put it out there? So I have always been really fascinated by Japanese architecture.
Hmm.
As I'm sure you can tell with the previous build that I did, which is a little far away from where we are currently.
Yeah.
But since you can see my screen anyways, I think I've got a nice picture of it. I do. And let's see if we can see that as full screen. I'm not really sure that I can. You know what? But you can see it,
That's
right?
okay. That is beautiful.
Okay, thank you. Um, so I actually used references for this build so that I could, one, like honor Japanese culture because I'm not the type of person that's going to just go and do something without doing a little bit of research first and
Hmm.
understanding like what I can and can't do with certain things. Because I just want to do my best to be knowledgeable to the best of my abilities about anything that's not of my own culture, I would say.
Yep.
Um, so, in saying that, I went ahead and looked up a bunch of references of actual pagodas so that I could best translate that style with my own twist, of course, but into Minecraft. Um, so you can kind of see with this build in particular the curvature in it.
Yeah, that's what's impressing me the most, because that's
Yeah,
hard to get when you're dealing with square blocks.
exactly. And so that sense of curvature and form is what really entices me about Japanese architecture
Hmm.
because you wouldn't think that you could even make something like that because you're working with blocks, you know,
Hmm.
but being able to do so with a limited block palette is to myself kind of impressive, not to be boastful,
It is. I agree.
but yeah, it's just really enjoyable for me. And so to see a finished product like that, it made every moment worth it.
Absolutely. And so if somebody wants to come and take a look at this build, approximately where is it?
This build is in the Genesis map at
Okay.
5,000 1,700 coordinates.
Okay. Excellent. 5,000, 1,700. So that's where to go to take a tour. And who have you worked with so far?
So far, I have worked with Jason from the Hustle House.
Hmm.
I have worked with Gotrilla, which I believe recently rejoined the Telegram, but he kind of strayed away from it for a while because he doesn't like the format, which is
Hmm.
understandable.
Yeah.
And I have also worked with, I'm currently working with his 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 name on Telegram is RWB Medusa.
Oh, yeah.
I'm about to get started with him as soon as I can because I know they're doing like another stress test soon, so I have to wait a couple of days.
Yeah.
But um, outside of that, I'll be getting started ASAP. And then there's a guy named Steve that has contacted me and already put down a deposit, and I'll be working with him soon, of course. And then there's actually another build that I'm starting outside of Minecraft for crypto voxels for an awesome lady named CryptoPalm. And so I have kind of a lot going on and I'm really excited about it.
Definitely. That's exciting. It's one thing to sort of get that first paid commission, but then when you realize you have a lineup of people and you're looking into like a month or two down the road, that's exciting too.
Exactly.
So, do you have any idea how many hours would go into building a structure like the one we're looking at?
So the one that we're looking at, I recently was in the hospital with my girlfriend. She had a surgery, so this one took a few more days than I was expecting. Um, but I would estimate for that one specifically, it probably took a total of about like 25 to 26 hours, I would say.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
Also, my
pretty
roommate
speedy.
just came home, so if you
Okay,
hear anybody.
excellent. And who is there anyone on your list of people who you would like to collaborate with if you were to have the opportunity?
If I had the opportunity, I would say probably Ken Bozak. He's actually somebody that I've been trying to get the attention of for about a week now, um, because his land is pretty bare aside from the logo that he has floating up there. Um,
Yep,
I think it would be really cool to do something nice on his plots.
definitely. So if anybody happens to want to nudge Ken Bozak in the direction of tuning into this, that would be great. If anybody out there has that connection. Um, is there anyone you would really like to meet in the uplift? You're wandering around one day making some builds, having some good time. Somebody comes in and takes a look. Who do you want that to be?
I would probably say the person with the account from EOS. They, I think I checked out their plot, I'm pretty sure, and they've got some nice stuff going on.
Hmm.
Um, I can't remember exactly what it is, but I think they have some skyscrapers that they've built. Um, and I like seeing the details that they have, but I think it would be cool to kind of watch their process, um, and see like how they go about building. That's something that's always interested me, is like seeing how other people build.
So to that end, would you be interested, like if we ever decided to have some live building streaming, would you be interested in some of that?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's a possibility for content. Um, Later on, at some point here, I'm going to be writing a blog about this conversation. What music should I be listening to when I do that?
Wow, that one. You know, I got to be honest with you. The song that has been getting me through this build in particular, this most recent skyscraper, is actually, it's called "Lost in Yesterday" by Tame Impala.
Okay.
Yeah, and that one, I don't know, it really resonates with me like very deeply for some reason. I think like so uh, actually one of the lyrics is something along the lines of like, even though you may have like really horrible memories right now, someday they'll become like not necessarily a happy memory, but like a good one, in the sense of you're not thankful that it happened, but you're thankful that you went through it because you learned a lot from a lot of the bad stuff that happens in life.
That makes sense. I will
Yeah,
definitely take a listen. That'll be good. Um, I think we're coming to the conclusion here. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with us that we haven't gotten to yet?
um hmm. Oh, actually, about the that build, the mystery build itself.
Hmm.
So that's actually going to be a Japanese castle that's
Ooh,
based on a real one. Let me see if I can find the name of it real quick, right off the top, if that's okay.
yeah.
It's called Matsumoto Castle.
Matsumoto Castle.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is just absolutely gorgeous, and I'm currently laying out the floor plan for that castle right now. I actually, in my own time, I like to use this program called World Painter, and it lets you edit like the base world by like adding mountains or like deep rivers or chasms or all kinds of things. Or you can make like custom biomes, and you can make custom um, like structures and things like that and add them into the world. And I'll be doing a little bit of that, but most of it's going to be by hand, because I feel like that over making something all by this world edit function, it feels a little more natural and real to me.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it when it's done, and
Thank you.
thank you for the conversation. So in closing, what are you grateful for right now?
I am grateful for, honestly, a big part goes out to my girlfriend.
Mhm.
She's going through a tough time right now with post-op. She had a gastric bypass, and taking care of her these past couple of weeks, or not past couple of weeks, but really the past month. Um, Last week she got out of surgery, but before that it was really hard because she had to go on like a strict liquid diet. Um, and even though I'm the one that's taking care of her and making sure that everything is going well, I'm very thankful for her, because she still supports me even at her worst times, and so that's exactly what I'm reciprocating to her.
That's absolutely wonderful. I'm glad that you have each other.
I love her so much.
That is fabulous. My gratitude's a little bit in a different direction this morning. I'm grateful for this conversation and for taking a look at the things you've done. Your work is very different from my work, and I find that absolutely inspirational. I really, really like what you do with the green spaces and the curves and the lights, and that's all going to sit in my mind for the next couple of weeks and percolate and probably be a bit of an influence. So thank you.
I can't even tell you how thankful I am for that, to be honest. I don't think I've ever
Absolutely.
gotten a kind word like that in particular.
Well, that's the best part of all of this for me, is being able to see what everybody else does, because it is completely inspiring. I I love it. So you're welcome. So on that happy note, we're going to take off. Jen's awesome show is done for today. We'll be back tomorrow to talk with the Hustle House. So
Awesome.
yeah. So I have no idea what I'm walking into with that either, as usual. So it'll be a good time. And thank you for joining me, and we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Thank you as well. You have a good one.
Absolutely. You too.
Bye bye.